We live in a world where the sharing economy has actually become a very standard thing. Most people will be familiar with things like Airbnb, GoCar Share, or TaskRabbit, and these are platforms where you can literally make money by sharing the things you've got. So that might be a spare room in your house in the case of Airbnb, a spare seat in your car in GoCar Share, or literally your ability to do things in TaskRabbit. What Rachel Botsman calls this is collaborative consumption, which is opposed to the hyperconsumption that we've come from. And how she defines this is that collaborative consumption is an economy that is built on distributed networks of individuals and communities, as opposed to centralized institutions. On a more personal level, what I think this means is that we want to have access to things without having to outright own them. Rachel Botsman said that collaborative consumption was inevitable because we are, it doesn't quite fit on the screen, but we are primates and we're hardwired to share. She says that it was inevitable that hyperconsumption had to come up against a wall because we're hardwired to share, and that wall was the financial crisis of 2008. But I think that while we're hardwired to share, we are also hardwired to be cautious. And that's where Rachel Botsman says reputation comes into play. Because cornerstone of collaborative consumption is reputation, and trust is the currency of this new sharing economy. Now, I was in London, and I was walking down the street, and this person comes up to me, and they look perfectly normal, but they asked to use my phone. I'm a digital native, you know, my phone is a part of me. Once I lost my phone and I wrote a whole blog post about how my heart fell out of my pocket. So I wasn't going to hand over this person my phone, and what I did was I typed the number in and put it on speakerphone and let them talk, so I didn't ever have to hand over my phone. Now, a few days later, I was sitting with my friend, and their friend was joining us. And when their friend came along, they're like, oh, my phone's run out of battery and I really need to message someone on Facebook. And to this person, I not only gave them my phone, I actually volunteered my phone to them. And so this got me thinking, why was I so willing to hand over my phone to one stranger, this friend of a friend, and not Mr. Stranger Danger? And the reason is relationship equity. And the amount of trust that you put in someone is directly dependent on the amount of relationship equity that you've built up with them, right? And so Mr. Stranger Danger had zero relationship equity with me. I didn't know the first thing about this person. All I knew was what they looked like. Now, the other person, I also literally knew nothing about. This person had just arrived. I knew nothing about the kind of person they were. The only thing I knew about this person was that they were my friend's friend. And that one piece of information was enough for me to hand over my digital heart to them, actually actively give it to them. So you might now see where I am going with this, in that trust is the currency of the sharing economy. And my friends and their friends already have this relationship equity with me, which means I already have trust with them. Which means that if we all enter the sharing economy together, me and my friends and their friends, we've already started off with a whole lot of this trust currency. We've actually started with a wallet full. We start off with a leg up in this currency, in this economy. And what this means is that when you're building your friendship networks, when you're earning your friends' trust, you're actually banking a whole lot of this currency that you can use in this new economy. You might say you're building a trust fund. And having this wide circle of friends when you enter the sharing economy gives you as much of a leg up in this new economy as if you were handed a bank account when you turned 21. Now, Rachel Botsman is trying to find a way to store and transfer this reputation that you earn online. Because right now in the sharing economy, when you earn this trust currency, it comes in the form of ratings and reviews. But when you have ratings and reviews on one platform, it doesn't translate over to another sharing economy platform. And so, but it's not quite as simple as just finding a way to make your reputation into a wad of cash and take it somewhere else, because reputation is not that simple. For example, if you've got a really good rating as an Airbnb host, that only means so much with your ability to run errands on TaskRabbit. So while Rachel Botsman is looking for an algorithm or some sort of dashboard that allows reputation to be translated in a way that makes sense, I argue we already have the means to do this. The best vessel for storing and transferring reputation are human relationships. We are the algorithm. We know how much the reputation as a good Airbnb host matters in their ability to run errands. We know how much of that translates over. And leveraging off these human relationships to garner reputation isn't something new to the sharing economy. This is something we've done since the start of time, but what social networking has done has allowed us to leverage off this on a global scale. These screenshots are people in my network and my friend Chris Curran's network, and what we were gathering were people who were looking for services while traveling. Like, do I know someone in this place? Do you know a good place to go? And our friendship group does this quite naturally because we went to high school together at an international school in Hong Kong, and when we graduated high school, we scattered all over the world. And our friends remain scattered all over the world to this day. So when we travel, we quite naturally assume there is someone who knows someone in this place I'm going to, and we leverage off this massive network that we have. The thing is, what I realized when I went to university in Melbourne was that my friends, the ones who travel all over the world, are not the only ones hungry to do it. Our entire generation is known as the experience generation. And that's because we are a little bit more concerned with gathering experiences than we are with gathering wealth. And the sharing economy is something that has allowed us to do this, because now we can get those experiences without having to gather the wealth first. However, the sharing economy is not yet balanced. And I realized this when I went to university because my friend who was living on a farm was filled with the equal kind of wanderlust that I had to see the world, but she didn't have access to that same sort of network that I had. And so she didn't have the opportunity to travel the way I did, and I thought this was a bit unfair. And so did my friend Chris Curran, and she came up with this idea. And so now she and my other friend Oscar Diagnan, we are developing an app that we're calling People Travel. And the idea, what we're massively leveraging off is this idea that you inherently trust your friends and their friends. And so we want to create a safe space where you can transfer this information with people that you know, and in the way that we already do, that my personal network does on Facebook. But what I find really exciting about what we're doing is that I can now share that network with my friend who was raised on a farm in Australia. All of those people all over the world who trust me now implicitly trust her as well. She has access to that. She gets access to my trust fund. And I think this is where we're going with this collaborative consumption space. We moved out of hyperconsumption into collaborative consumption because we are hardwired to share. But I think we're so hardwired to share that we don't want to stop at just sharing the things we've got. We want to share the things that we have access to. We want to share our sharing. And so I think the future of this is distributed collaborative consumption, where we can share the networks that we've got. And we can facilitate an economy where we can get the experiences that we want to get while being less limited by our historical circumstance and more by our ability to share, cooperate, and earn each other's trust. Thank you.